Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening everybody. It's Militiaman. It's Sunday evening. Thank you for you guys letting me have a day off yesterday. A little bit of rest once in a while to recharge is always a good thing, okay? But the fun part tonight is that I have to go back in time again, and I know you guys maybe like that, maybe you don't like that, but for educational purposes, to get to the bigger picture, I think sometimes it's necessary. I think I can touch base on it. I won't keep it long, but if you remember back, there was an article that came out that says the third regional dialogue on the WTO accessions for the Arab region, and I'm bringing this up because there's specific countries that are still in the lineup, and they're not talking about all of them, and they're not talking about they talked about a couple, but not all of them. But we can see by their actions in the articles that there's significant support for Iraq and other countries, but Iraq specifically because of the nature of the circumstances. Iraq's natural resources to stimulate growth is off the charts. They're just right there underneath just a few countries above them, United States, Saudi Arabia, other things. So when it comes to valuation, customs valuations, they're going to have to value the currency, that's my understanding, at some point in time to reflect a real effective exchange rate, REER, R-E-E-R, okay? And we'll see how that's going to turn out. But here we go, back in October of 2023, so it's not terribly long ago, a few months, it says the Arab region comprises 8 acceding governments. So they're talking about acceding governments. And we'll start off with what they say is that Algeria, Comoros, Iraq, Lebanese Republic, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Syrian Republic, Arab Republic, forgive me, and which is accounting for more than 1/3 of the ongoing WTO accessions. So that's the focus. Iraq is included. We know that Comoros and we know that Timor-Leste have accession. And are they really big countries? No. Were they low development countries? Yes. Iraq's in a circumstance where people are asking, how's this going to work? I mean, we're not even close yet. Well, I beg to differ. And just because it says on the WTO, people's impression is they're not even close yet, I don't think so. Because think about it for a minute. Do you think that countries that will have a significant impact, countries that will have that will restore the confidence of the world in the international banking system, the global financial system, they're going to tell the world that, oh, by the way, we already did tell you Iraq is, but all of a sudden they say, well, now they're going to be from X as a non-observer in the WTO to returning to the observer status, but are they going to tell you that they're going to have full accession at the same time? That's like insider information if they were to do that, disclose that information. But I think that we can read between the lines enough to where that I think they're probably comfortable not coming right out and saying it, but they really have in this article in October. They've already given you enough information that the world knows Iraq's about to do business, big business. And that's going to go from the Port of Fa all the way into the Mediterranean and on into Europe. And the amount of construction, all of those things that we have talked about are going to not be affordable at 1310. They specifically did a tripartite budget, which they haven't totally exposed yet. And yeah, a lot of good questions out there. Why not? Call a lock at the Central Bank of Iraq and ask him. Ask Taif Sami, ask Al Sudani why they haven't done it yet. But to notice the things that they have done is they were in the UN Assembly back in September preceding this article. They were in Davos, okay? They were in Munich, and they were doing what? Doing business and deals behind closed doors with all these different countries of the world. Today there's an article out specifically that talks about each and every one of the meetings mentioning, they don't talk about the meetings, but they talk about who they met with. And there's some very high level ranking people from the Middle East, from the United States, from Great Britain, on and on and on and on. And so you have to look and see, well, why would they be doing this? Are they going to be doing this to stay where they were before, or are they going to go back to a previous era? Look at 1169, 1182, 1460, 1310. They never went international with those rates. So it's absolutely utter nonsense to suggest that Iraq is going to go. Even if they could, they could be, but they won't, because it doesn't work. I mean, how are you going to build 1,000 miles of road at 1310? How are you going to do all 4 million housing units at an exchange rate of 1310 with today's prices? If Iraq was going to spend that kind of money, it wouldn't work. It just doesn't work. The budget doesn't work. So, and then be careful when they say LOP. You know, there's a lot of people out there that just talk about this LOP business. The bottom line is the LOP doesn't do anything for Iraq. First off, I don't believe for a moment that the IMF would allow them, with Iraq's focusing on telling everybody that their inflation has been contained for years. There's no hyperinflation, so a LOP is completely out of the question. I mean, you really got to get out of the basement and come and read in Patreon with Militiaman and crew and see and hear what really is probably the truth for everybody to understand. But this particular case, it says the Arab perspective on the WTO accession in the multilateral trading system. That's what we're talking about. Multilateral trading systems. We're talking about bilateral, multilateral, and they're getting ready to do it. This was back in October. It basically says that the sessions had, at that time, included during the WTO meetings, the state of play where they were. You've probably heard us talk about that. Okay, so that's in the past. But again, you got to move forward. What happened next? Well, about, 2 months later, the Minister of Commerce announces the completion of 3 files related to Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization. So that was on January 15th. I think that was late October. And this particular article talks about Athir al-Ghurari announced today, Monday, the completion. Okay, they said the completion of 3 files related to Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, while indicating that Iraq will be an influential player in the international economic system. So what did they do? Why haven't they done it today? Well, they're still at 1310, but they're saying they're going to be an influential player in international economics, and they were at 1310 then. They haven't changed that yet, so they haven't done it quite yet, but they're getting ready to. It says that this conference that al-Fawari is in, I think that could be the way it's pronounced. Forgive me for the enunciations, but it says that the visit of the head of the mission of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the head of the team concerned with Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, Ambassador Sakar Abdullah al-Muqbel, to Iraq is important and is a serious expression and signals that Iraq is continuing with its obligations according to this platform. Basically, it says it's a solid government program whose steps are calculated through promising plans that have begun to bear fruit. So they're moving forward with the plan. It says the importance of Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, which comes through the working group. A working group means that those folks that are working already have a session. So again, when you hear this working group meetings in 2024, Iraq's not in the does not have full accession yet. So when they say mid 2024, well, they're not talking about Iraq in a sense, unless of course they have what? A session, because the working group includes people that have a session. So be careful on what you read. Be patient. I think you'll see that. I'm not an expert on this, but I'm like you guys. I'm just reading the news. Okay. What are they doing? It says the Ministry of Commerce and the head of the technical team, who is an ambassador, of course. So all these people that were in Davos, who were they? There was like heads of states, ambassadors, right? So these people are in the know. So what do they say? Known historically for seriousness. So in other words, they take it really serious. It is also a good sign of the development of relations and the sincerity of the intentions of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its good initiatives as people and government under the leadership of this team. So they're giving kudos to these guys. They're sincere with their intentions. So that's a positive. The team will take real steps. What? To do what? What are they going to take real steps for? To shorten the path to Iraq's secession to the World Trade Organization. So we've seen words in the past about accelerate. We see now that they're talking about shorten. They're even talking about expressing that they've done enough work that could have taken decades or more, okay, in 1 year. Okay, so they say stuff like that. And here we have, it says that what the team accomplished within 1 year after Iraq joined the World Trade Organization as an observer in 2004, the meetings and work of this team continued in 2009, but since that year, the file had been disrupted. We all know that after just 2009, they had some problems, and they kept having problems all the way through ISIS, and et cetera, all the way out to 2018, which they rebooted this whole system, and they started over again. I'm not so sure they rebooted this particular system, but as you guys know, that we've been around a long time. And so all of those guys that have been around for 20 years, you have to think that, yep, you've been here for 20 years just like everybody else. Because why? Because it's a complex issue. They've been working at it, and they've been knocking it dead, especially since al-Sudani got into office, and that was back in October. Back in October, which is why I leave in, right? Okay, so they go on to say Iraq will return to being a strong economic player. So why are they talking about this? Iraq will return to being a strong economic player. Well, if they're not a strong economic player at 1310, why would they be tomorrow? He's got to go, boop. You think about it. As well as an important positive international political player and to open relations in Arab countries and all countries of the world. So they have to open up to all countries of the world. Well, that's what we're going to watch and see. So this is back here, and this is in January 15th. That's like just a little over 30 days ago. It says the team was able within 1 year to complete 3 files and submit them to the committee for final negotiation and approval, including those related to the file of trade and goods and services, as well as the plant health and other files, pointing out that with our selection to head the team, Sakir Abdullah Al-Muqbel, is that there is a new phase for this team to perform positively. So there's a new phase. It's going to perform positively. Rings me to the bell when I hear al-Sudani is the one that's talking about the year of achievements. All right. He stresses that Iraq cannot be outside the international economic system, but rather it will be a player and influencer in it. And through reforms on the ground, the fruits of which our people will reap soon. So Iraq cannot be outside the international economic system. You remember when al-Sudani and everybody talked about the UN Assembly, how Iraq is going to be the savior? When the people were on the street, the little audio video that we did, and it was education we get from one of our members. They talk about things like that. That's what those videos were about in Arabic. They're talking about the people who are happy with al-Sudani. He's been knocking it dead. As Pompey Peters says, knock on him bandy. They're doing a really good job. And the people trust him. Has it taken some time? Well, obviously, we're not quite there yet, but the bottom line is that they are doing what they said they were going to do. And Iraq cannot be outside the international economic system. And they're going to be a player and an influencer. Why? Because you're going to find out that Iraq has a significant, every time I tell you this, they have all these different things, all these systems in place. They have all the natural resources, human resources. They have it all to do what? To show value. They can show their customs value. They're going to need to do that. They didn't just put a 1,200-foot ship full of containers, thousands of them, almost 3,000, 2,600 I think it was, into the port, and more to come. Just for what? No, for not to go international, not to do business? No, they're gonna kick it out of the park, is what I think. He goes on to say that the science of these measures in improving the business and investment environment will bring great benefits to our people and the economy of our country. So the fruits of their labor are going to come to their citizens, and that's what. Where's Al Sadr? Isn't he vocal? Doesn't he like to make marches with millions of people? How come he's so quiet? Why is he so satisfied? Does he know what we know? I think he knows what we know. I think he knows what at least I know. I know that there's a progress going. And as long as there's progress going, and if it's for the people, and Al Sudani keeps doing what he's doing, that's why he's being quiet. So, whether we like him or not, past is past. He's a patriot to his own country. Got to respect that. Got to respect our patriotism, too, here at home. The President of the Republic confirms Iraq's keenness to join the World Trade Organization. So this is on the same day, different article. But the bottom line is when? January 15th. About a month ago? Just barely? It says that the President of the Republic, Abdul Latif Jamal Rashid, received today, Monday, January 15th, in Baghdad, at the palace, the Saudi ambassador to Iraq, Abdul Aziz Shamari, representative of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the World Trade Organization. There you go again. Who? Sakr al-Mukbel, we just talked about him. And who was he? It was a team concerned with Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization and those accompanying delegations. They go on to say at the beginning of the meeting, the Saudi ambassador conveyed the greetings of the custodian of the two holy mosques, all respect, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, King of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, to the President and their wishes for the Iraqi people for further progress and prosperity. With His Excellency, the ambassador conveyed his greetings to the custodian of the two holy mosques, the two honors, and to the Crown Prince, and his wishes to the Saudi people for further prosperity and development. So giving all due respects in a good way. Fascinating. But it goes on to say the president affirms that, according to the statement, the president of Iraq, right, we talked about Jamal Rashid, he says Iraq's keenness to join the organization organization by achieving commercial and economic standards required in this regard. So we're talking about organization. Is that the World Global Financial System, or is that the World Trade Organization, or is that international organizations? They just say organization. But we've been talking about World Trade Organization. So in this case, the headline says World Trade Organization, keenness to join the organization. I'm pretty sure it means the WTO. So he goes on and says that His Excellency appreciated the efforts made by the team concerned with joining the organization, Iraq World Trade Organization. It's meeting with the National Committee for the purposes of accelerating. There you go again. Shorten, we heard. Now it's accelerating. We talked about that. It says completion of this file in a way that it contributes to the development of the trade system and achieving stability and sustainable development. Well, isn't that all the things that we've been talking about with Iraq? Sustainable development, or development road project. All of that stuff is happening, and this was January 15th, so it was just not too long ago. He goes on to say that the Saudi ambassador stressed the kingdom's keenness to support Iraq in international forums. Well, the WTO is an international forum, is it not? I'm pretty sure you could probably answer the question by yes. And they'll stand by its side. And what else? And they'll be enhancing security, stability, development, and progress in the economic and energy fields, noting that Iraq is moving forward towards the process of reform, development, and progress in various fields. So they invoked the highest people in the Saudi kingdom, and we have people that still think that we're not there yet. You're going to go fully blown international and you're going to be at 1310. Doesn't make any sense. There you go. Okay, so they reviewed the results from the meetings in Baghdad, which took place in Iraq, National Committee for the Republic of Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, and the satisfaction that with the steps taken in order to implement the required standards, basically stating his country's support for Iraq's accession to the international organization is probably a big thumbs up. That's what I would give it. He goes on to say that the president of Iraq confirmed today back then on Monday, around the 15th of January. It says Iraq's keenness to join the World Trade Organization by achieving the required trade and economic standards. So they've achieved. I think this guy's been talking to Iraq. That's what I think. Because what is Iraq's time frame? He said 2024. I believe he's probably out there quoted something to the effect of, we're all about 2024 achievements. he's getting kudos from everybody. I mean, he's been all over the world. He's been to all those different places I already mentioned. So here's on January 17th, 2 days later after that last article, it says Wednesday, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia supports for Iraq's accession to the World Trade Organization, especially after the removal of political obstacles that prevented it. So things have been removed. And what are they? Political obstacles. The Iraqi Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So interesting that we use this, right? They talked about it on January the 17th, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So we posted an article the other day, and it talked about welcoming, not saying they are in and have a session, but they're welcoming in a session for Iraq. And who was it? His name is Al-Kanani. And interestingly enough, even though he has different titles now, but prior to 2018, he was a deputy in the Iraqi Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So the man would know about what we're talking about, because this isn't fresh, this isn't brand new. They were dealing with accession processes all since then. So when he was around, he was with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and here the mission of this Iraqi Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated in the statement: the Undersecretary for Political Planning Affairs, another ambassador, those are the guys that were in Davos, right? Along with the ambassador, another one, Abdullah Al-Mubel, we've already heard about him, in his accompanying delegation. Ministry of Foreign Affairs building in Baghdad, so that's where they were, and they were in the presence of Hussein Younes, head of the Economic Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Keep all those names. Slow this down, pay attention, because those people are going to be in front and center in the short term. It says the Iraqi government is interested in openness to international organizations. Once again, talking about international organizations. We're not talking about regional, we're talking about international. Got an international ship import. I can't hammer this home enough. He says, as a desire to activate Iraq's presence in what? International forums. Explaining that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs seeks to enhance regional and international cooperation alongside the relevant ministries in the government. And they point out that the natural and human resources, which I already mentioned, specialized workforces in many of the fields deserve to be provided with job opportunities. Of course they do. Expressing his hope that Iraq's accession to such organizations will contribute to providing such opportunities by increasing the private sector in light of the current openness and the government's plans. Private sector. So that's where they're headed. He says, for his part, the Saudi delegation confirmed that the kingdom believes that Iraq is a country that has chosen peace and stability and seeks to achieve economic development, pointing to the importance of Iraq, according to the importance of Iraq to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia from an economic standpoint. So one of the largest, most powerful countries in the Middle East and possibly in the world are looking for Iraq and what? Stability in the region. Saudi delegation noted that the kingdom believes that the political obstacles that prevent Iraq from joining the World Trade Organization have been removed. So again, one of the largest entities in the region, one of the most powerful countries with energy in the world, is saying the political side has been removed, stressing that the kingdom's government supports Iraq's desire to enter global economic institutions. So there you have it. You have a voice that is so very loud, and that was in January. That was 30 days ago. Okay, a little over 30 days, just a couple, but nonetheless. And then so fast forward. Now, you got a lot of other little things going on and back and forth, but here we go. Last one, government advisor Iraq is on the cusp of a transitional stage in the development of promising economies globally. Oh, so Mr. Mazhar Mohammed Saleh. He's the guy that told us not too long ago, I should have printed this out to have reference, but time is short. But the interesting thing is that he talked about having a major announcement coming. I'm not saying that this is the major announcement, but it sure could be a lead-in to a major announcement, because Iraq's going to go international, and so they're going to most likely have to do something that's outside the box of a program or a punishment rate. Program rate, punishment rate, call it what you may, but 1310 is a punishment rate. He goes on to say that Iraq is on the cusp of a transitional stage in the development of promising economies globally. He says that Iraq, with its large natural resources, is ranked 9th in the world after countries such as Russia Federation, the United States of America, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And today, it is on this cusp of transitional stage in the development of promising economies for development at the global level. At the global level. 9th. That's big. 1310. Okay. Indeed. International studies estimate the share of natural resources per square kilometer relative to the area of our country is the highest in the world. I don't know, you guys. It's pretty powerful language. I would suggest you get the article, come into Patreon, go into Discord if you want, grab it where you may. Hopefully you get it directly from our place, because a lot of times people do what they do. And the real data comes from Patreon. Within the framework of the state's philosophy of partnership with the private sector, there is a great investment momentum accompanied by high technology capabilities that suit the developments of the new digital era of the world, all of which seek through its international partnerships, big words, to maximize investment, integration, and cooperation opportunities in our country as an important part of the policy of Iraq's integration to the global economy, to achieve prosperity for the Iraqi people and diversify sources of investment and national income in our country. In all cases, the national private sector today has priority to support and provide the necessary sovereign guarantees in keeping with the climate of guarantees obtained by international investments, pointing to a new development era for Iraq that leads to the diversification of sources of income through investment in diverse wealth, natural human resources, launching the manufacturing industry, and supporting agricultural efforts to maximize value chains and different technologies. I don't know about you guys, but those two paragraphs are reek of accession. All of those things right there are telling you Iraq is meeting all of those things necessary. When they talk about agriculture, you got to keep that in mind, because that's going to be a big deal. That probably means too, that you're going to see some water deals done with Turkey. We'll watch and see. But that's my view on that. I'll see if we got it right. Maximizing value chains in Iraq, sustaining development momentum stems from the 6 principles they're going to talk about below. They had recent meetings in the Netherlands with international businessmen and investors, and where he summarizes, which is, don't forget, it's Mohammed Saleh, the guy that said there was supposed to be a major announcement. That's the guy. He says that the economic reform in all areas of the economy without relying on oil. So that's what their first thing is. They're going to talk about economic reform in all areas of the economy without relying on oil. So that's the private sector. Then the second principle, supporting farmers and expanding the use of modern technologies in the field of water. Oh, of all things. And benefiting from international experiences, especially the Dutch. Weren't they the ones with the windmills making all the irrigation and all that kind of stuff? Like way back into the future? Past, I mean, not the future. In the past, whatever it was. God dang it. It's funny. The state seeks to provide sovereign guarantees to the private sector amounting to about 85% of the project value to ensure the modern international industries, technologies, and service to our country. The fourth was launching operations of the Grand Port of Foul will be done by 2025, basically as a foundation for development and economic progress. And what are they doing? They're integrating with the development path strategy, noting that the berth of the port has been docked by one of the international ships, one of those ships we talked about. So Soleil is basically reiterating all of the study that we have in Patreon. And there's going to be more. And obviously, we're going to be here to make sure that you guys get the information. The fifth principle, second to the last, reforming the financial banking sector to put it on a competitive foundation to commensurate with the international compliance standards. Well, of all things, international compliance. Isn't that kind of like the IMF's compliance? Wouldn't the Article 8 compliance fit into a compliance? I think it does. We'll find out. As financial and banking reform is the introduction to the government's reform program to link the effective finance sector to develop programs and the speed of their implementation and progress. In other words, quick, let's go. I like it. And sixth, on the list for the final principle, the desire of the global financial and banking market to open branches of its banks and activities in Iraq, which enhances the financing and investment environment and the integration of the Iraqi economy and the global economy. I didn't mention this earlier, but this little article right here, you guys, is a jewel. It's a jewel. You probably don't have to read the whole thing. You could probably just, done. But here we go. It's just the message of the 6 principles launched by the Prime Minister to the global economic community to inaugurate another development era in Iraq. So they're inaugurating something. So this is like a new beginning, right? Inauguration Day. We all know what that means. We're going to have a new president one day. He's going to be inaugurated. Which are to diversify the national economy through partnership between the state and the private sector. So they're going to inaugurate the state and the private sector with partnerships. And I find it fascinating if you come into Patreon, if you not Google, I always say that's silly, but if you do a search and you look for integration, you're going to find out that one of the key components to the WTO is integration, and I think that they're going to have some meetings coming up on anywhere from, I don't know, the 26th to the 29th. It was an interesting little piece to put out. There was some data coming out from the WTO that wasn't really elaborated on just yet. That could change from the 19th to the 25th. But so the 26th to the 29th, though, is in writing, and so far I haven't seen that change yet. So all we do is report what they put out, okay? Whether or not we get it completely right, we do the best that we can. That's all we can say. And we move on from there. So anyway, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this article. In all cases, the national private sector today support and provide the necessary sovereign guarantees. Sovereign guarantees. I mean, we had a laundry list of data that show that they have sweetened the pot for private investors to go into Iraq. Their stock exchange is on fire. Banks or stocks have been doing very, very well. You're going to have steel companies that are going to be doing very, very well. Cement companies. You have the World Bank and the IFC buying into a cement company. I mean, the security and stability today, they told you specifically the security and stability has been good for 4 years. Now, we had some little issues, some skirmishes, and we've had, some attacks by certain factions and stuff. But interestingly enough, it's calmed down to some degree. We'll see if that lasts. But the main process is what? Progress. Development road, sustainable development. That's what I have to say tonight. So everybody, I'm pumped. I think this week and this next week should be just more and more fascinating information, because at some point in time, Iraq's not going to go international until they show us a real effective exchange rate, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be powerful. Thank you very much. If you like my channel, please hit the like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. And then if you'd like to help keep the content going, we have those processes, as you can see in the details, with Zelle, Venmo, and PayPal. But also remember, hey, say thanks and a shout out to all of our crew members. We have the Super Samson. We have Gigi. She welcomes everybody in when they come in. We have the Mr. IT in the background. We have people like Petra, people like Pompey Peter, and we have all the other crew members. There's Toby, Alana, and Brian, of course, with prayer. Thank you so much, you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.